Well, hello there. I'm going to show you how to make this head warmer, neck warmer, cowl if you want to make it longer, or even a headband, whatever you'd like it to be. And this stitch is my Cecily stitch, and it's quite a pretty stitch in the round as well as it is in a flat panel. So I'm just showing you what it looks like. Maybe I can turn it so you can see how it has all this texture to it. It's a really beautiful stitch. So I'm going to show you how to do that. And I'm on a 42 peg loom, 5/8 inch gauge, Cindywood loom. The yarn I'm using is King Cole Riot Chunky. And so it's a number 5 yarn, and it's 30% wool, 70% acrylic, and the color is denim. And it's all these blues and grays and silvers. So let's put it back in the bag. And the loom hook I'm using, which I'm not sure where it went now. There it is. There it is, the loom hook I'm using from a company who no longer makes them, but they have similar ones on Etsy. Okay? And so it's a pretty easy 3-row stitch. So what I'll do is I will take you to my video of how to cast on, and then we'll start right into showing you how to do the stitch. So we will see you in a few. So I'm going to show you how to start this piece, and I'm going to show you the cast on and the first few rows before we start into the pattern. The yarn I'm using for this is Atlantis, Estelle Atlantis, and the color is Gleam. And it's a combination of yellows and creams and light taupe and copper and bronze and lots of those colors in it. And it's a bulky. And it's, I guess it's pretty close to Charisma width to give you an idea of how big a bulky it is. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is a chain cast on. So what I do is I just make a slip knot. And any way you make a slip knot's fine. It just goes on the first peg like that. And we take the loom hook, put it inside the loop, and pick up a yarn. And so that we have a loop of yarn here. I'm just going to keep this tight over here. And then I'm going to come over behind the next peg, put the working yarn through, and snug it up. Behind, working yarn through, snug it up. Behind, whoop, behind, and we caught 2 pegs, snug it up. Behind, snug it up. And we just do that all the way around the loom. And that's a chain cast on. It's one of the crochet cast-ons. Works really good. You can use a crochet hook to do this if you want. I find it a lot easier just to do with my hands, but if you're in a very tiny gauge loom, you might really need a hook to get your fingers in between the pegs. This cast on can be used on any size of loom with the appropriate yarn for that gauge. I use this cast on with most of my pieces because I like the look of it. I do use other ones from time to time just because I think they go nicer with the work, but this one is nice. You don't have to worry about tightening any loops. It has a really nice appearance. And I just kind of do this weird thing when I do it because that helps me to get the right tension. But you can do it in one smooth motion too. Just the way I like to do the chain cast on. Get some more yarn out of here. Okay. Whoop. Caught this in it. There we go. And then I just plop it on the last peg. And then you notice there's a space here. You could also pop it on there, but I find it makes this really thick here. So what I've started doing is just ending right here when I do this cast on, and then just knit it off. And then we're just going to come over here and knit this to secure it. And then what I do, because there's only one piece of yarn coming here and it's thicker in here, is I take this loop that I had left and put it over here, and then I just knit it over. And that makes it blend in better. At least that's what I think. And also this is partially secured already, so it will stay tighter and not loosen up on you now, which sometimes happens. Okay, so what we're going to do with this stitch, and I've already done one knit stitch here, is we're just going to do a row of U-knit. So a row of U-knit right after the cast on. This completes the cast on part of it. And a U-knit is just over the peg like that and knit it off. If you're doing this pattern, I'd be pretty sure you already know how to U-knit, but just in case. And it gives you one of the, well, the real knit stitches, really, since E-wrap is a twisted knit, and it's the same as knitting through the back loop and needle knitting. But these all give you the V stitch, which is the knit stitch. And this yarn has lots of nice color changes. I really like it. Oh, it's 50% wool and 50% acrylic. So really nice to work with, unless you're one of those people that's allergic to wool. But if you're not, it's beautiful to work with. It just glides on. And we must almost be back there. If it's not yet, we're almost back there. I was going to pause it if it was still a long ways, and I will do that on some of these rows just because it's going to really take up a lot of length in the video. Okay. Oop. This is loose because it's this one right here. Okay. Now, what we're going to do is a row of purl. So, just go down, pull a loop up and do that. I'll do it slower, but you should know how to purl. So we're just going to put this in just like the same way when we cast on. We came in through here. And we're going to take this loop and pull it up just like we did with the cast on, except we're going to take everything off here and then just put the loop back on. You just put it right over like that. And that's all there is to a purl. So we're just going to purl all the way around. Just want to have a good strong non-curling base. And of course when we cast off, we're going to do the same thing. Do the same rows we did here so it matches. Okay, I'm going to put it on pause while I go around and do the purl. Okay, so I completed my row of purl. Now I'm going to do another row of U-knit followed by another row of purl. So that's all we're going to do is another row of knit and then another row of purl. So what we did was we cast on, we did a row of U-knit, and then we did a row of purl, and then another row of U-knit and another row of purl. So I'm just going to put you on pause, finish my row of knit, then I'm going to do my row of purl, and then we'll be all ready to start the stitch. So I'll see you in a few minutes. Okay, so I did the second row of knit and the second row of purl, and this is what it looks like. It just gives you a beginning like that, so that that edge will never curl. Okay, so now that you have casted on and you've done your rows of knit, purl, the next stitch you do right after you do that is owl eye. So to start that, you go in a U-wrap over the first peg, knit it off, come back around over the first and the second peg. We could get a little bit closer here. Oh, that's too close. We'll try that. And knit it over. And then come, whatever peg you're on is peg 1, go over 1 and 2, knit them over. We're on peg 1, over 1 and 2, knit them over, keeping it nice and loose. And just keep going. I have lots of videos on my owl eye stitch. Okay, so we're on peg 1, we go over 1 and 2. On peg 1, we go over 1 and 2. Really easy. That's all there is to that. So I'll just put you on pause and I'll finish the row, and that is row 1 of the stitch. Okay, I've almost finished that first row, so I go over peg 1 and 2, knit them over, and now we're coming back to the starter peg. So I do my second wrap on the peg to finish off the owl eye row. And now we're on row 2, and row 2 is my roses and chain stitch. So we go over peg 1 in a U-wrap, then we come back again, going the other way, knit that off, and then we come back again the way we were going, knit it off. Now I'll show you on the lighter color peg, it'll be easier to see. Go over in a U-wrap, backwards U-wrap, forward U-wrap again. Pretty easy stitch. Now, when you do the first stitch, you come over and do the U-wrap. When you come back, you don't want to be too tight, because if you were too tight and pulled this over, you'd have a hard time knitting it over. So you just hold it over, a little gentle pressure, knit it off, come back, same thing. You want to be able to knit it over, so don't hold it too tight. And then that's all there is to it. You knit over this way, you knit over this way. Okay, so U-wrap backwards, U-wrap forwards again. And that's all there is to this stitch. So far, pretty easy, huh? And you can just whiz along. This stitch gives it a lot of texture. So if we're going to look at the pattern here, so here's where the cast on is, then there's the row of owl eye, then here's the row of this other stitch, so it builds up into the purl, and it's the same thing here, and it gives you that neat pattern. And it's a non-curl pattern, so you don't have to worry about that. You can use it for just about everything. Now this yarn is a bulky, but it's not a really thick bulky. So if you had a thicker bulky, you'd have a tighter stitch. And if you had a worsted weight yarn, you'd have a more lacy stitch, but it still would be not too terribly lacy. Okay. So I'm going to finish this row, and then we can do the third row. So we'll catch up when we're close to the end of the row. Okay, so here I am on the last peg in the row, finishing the roses and chain stitch on it. And that completes row 2. And now row 3. And row 3 is purl. So I've already done purl in the cast on, so it's just purl for one row. Okay, so we'll purl that row, and then I'll see you at the end of the row. Okay, so I'm just nearing the end of the row here. 2 more purls to do, 1 more purl to do. Okay, so now that you've done that, that's the pattern. Okay, row 1 is owl eye, row 2 is the roses and chain stitch, row 3 is purl. And this is the pattern that you get from it. And it's really quite beautiful. I'm really liking it. And it's got such nice texture. So you're just going to go as long as you like it, because I'm doing a headband neck warmer. I'm not going to go too long. I like my headbands to also be neck warmers. That way they're pretty versatile. I just pull it down onto my neck if I need it there, or put it back up on my ears if I need another layer under a hat because it's very windy or something. It's very versatile. Okay, so do it as long as you want. And then what you need to do before we go to bind off is you need to do exactly what you did after the cast on when you cast on and started knitting, but we need to do that in reverse. So when you are ready for your row of purl to finish off your 3-row pattern, your row of purl will be your first row in the bind off. So you do a row of purl, then you do a row of knit, then a row of purl, then the row of knit, and then you'll be doing the cast off. And I will take you to the cast off video because I have one made already, and that will show you how to do the cast off, and then we'll catch up and look at what it looks like completed. Okay, so have you got that? You keep doing your 3 stitches to get the pattern. Then when you have it long enough, make sure you end with the purl, the third one there, and that purl is the first stitch in your sequence to bind off. Then you do a row of knit, a row of purl, a row of knit, and then the bind off. Okay, so we'll take you to the bind off video, and then we will take a look at the finished project. Okay, so I've done the 4 rows, and now what we're going to do is go ahead and we're going to do a very stretchy bind off so that we can get it looking like it does at the beginning of the piece. So I went around the loom with the yarn 2.5 times. You can go up to 3 if you'd like, and then I cut it. So that's how much yarn I have to do this with. You can always use extra yarn because you can always cut it off, but I found I never go over the 2.5 times around. Okay, and so then we just get a good needle, and I've got a nice short needle with a great big eye here. I like this needle. And then we get the yarn through it. You can also use a loom hook, but I find a needle a lot easier. Okay, so we're just going to make sure our stitch here is tight, and this is where we're starting. And so what we're going to be doing is we're going to be going up the stitch that we just came from, and then we're going to tighten that, and then we're going to go behind it, and we're going to go down the next stitch and just pull the yarn through. Make sure you're on this side of the loop, or else you'll be pulling it through the loop, and you don't want that. Okay? Okay. And then what I'm going to do is go up this one once more. Because this is just my starting place. And then I'm going to go behind this one, and I'm going to go down the new peg. And this is the pattern all the way now. We're just going to go down the new peg, pull it through, and tighten it, and go up the old peg. It gets easier once the yarn gets shorter. Okay, and then we're going to go behind the peg that was the new peg. A little bit awkward here for me. Okay, so we went behind this peg, and we're going to go down the new peg. Pull it tight. And up the old peg. Okay, so we're going to go behind, and that's the peg that was new last time, and then we're going to go down the new peg, whoop, and up the old peg. And behind and down the new peg. Now, if you have a yarn that frays really easy, and this process frays it while you're doing this, then that's okay. You can cut that off, secure it with a knot, and weave it in later, and then you can just add a new yarn and go. You can tie it on to the end that you cut off if it's not too badly frayed, and then sew it all in later. But however you'd like to do that, that's a way to do it if you're fraying. This yarn doesn't fray, so I'm using a nice long yarn. But just a tip, because sometimes you'll get a yarn that will not like the process of binding off. I seem to be tangled here in my wire. Okay, we'll cut it off now. Okay, so here we are. So if you have to stop in the process, you look at where you are and you see the yarn's coming out of here. So that means that was the last one you worked. So you're going to go behind and go down the new peg. And up the old peg. Okay, and behind and down. And up. Okay, so I'm just going to skip ahead a little bit and then we can catch up. Okay, so I've got, I'm almost to the end here. And this is a lot shorter now. Okay, so here I am and I'm going behind the peg and I'm going down. Okay, now it's much easier down and up and behind. Tightening it, down, up, and behind, down, up, behind. So it's not really hard to do, except this one, because I have a little bit of a knot there that developed. Okay, and then up, and behind, down, and up. And behind, and down, there you go, and up, and behind, and down, and up, and behind, and down. Like, there we go, because I'm at the end. So basically now I've connected every peg. They're all connected. So I'm just going to leave this here to actually do a knot, or I could do a knot right now because it's important to do a knot to secure it. I sometimes do it at the end, but I'm just going to do it now. So we're just going to do a whoop, there, a knot. There we go. And then I will be weaving in that end, turning it in so you don't see the knot, and weaving it in after. But now we can take the needle off and we can take our loom hook again, and then we can just start taking off the pegs. And we just take them off all the way around the loom. Some of them will be tighter. I find if I go the opposite way, it's looser and easier to take it off. So I'll go back the way that I had just come. This looks like kind of funny big loops right now, but okay, so there we go. Let me just take the loom off now. And so then what we want to do is we want to stretch it. I go all the way around, stretching it. Okay, so here's the finished headband. And here's what it looks like. There's the one cast off and bind off, and the other one looks very much like it. You can get it to, yeah, get in the camera angle, right? It looks all really nice. There's the other side. So I hope you enjoy making this. And until next time, bye.